Have you ever wished that magic could be real? Or have thought about how the world would be if we all had extraordinary abilities? Well, this is something that I've always been thinking about. As a kid who has grown up reading books like Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling, I have always wondered when my letter to Hogwarts would be at my door. Hello everyone, this is your host. My name is Uchi, and welcome to the podcast where we discover the impossible in ourselves. Recently, I have been thinking about the ways we can achieve magic, and I came upon the idea of illusions and sleight of hand. Over the past year, due to my new interest of sleight of hand, I have been learning this art form, and I have learned a lot from this concept that I have to share. As you may or may not know, the art of magic has been around for several centuries. Many performers from far and wide, such as Houdini, would put on shows for other individuals, sometimes at the expense of their own lives. However, it did not matter to them, because seeing the smiles on their audience's faces was a feeling they could never replace. Houdini is one of the many examples of people who risked their lives by doing stunts to create enjoyment and a sense of happiness for others. After looking at such examples, I have realized that magic creates a sense of relaxation and a worry-free environment for the audience and people who are watching. Have you ever watched an America's Got Talent magic act? An act where they grab birds out of the air? Well, I certainly wish I could do that, but when I watch those acts, even before I started learning magic, all my worries leave me, and I'm focused on the incredible deception of the performance. There are still magicians to this day who we need to acknowledge. These people are dedicated to the craft of magic. David Blaine, Chris Angel, and various YouTubers of all ages are now using the internet and have now taken it upon themselves to use magic as a form of healing the people they come into contact with. As the famous YouTuber and magician Alex Pandrea reminds me each day, magic is not just about finding the spectator's card, but inspiring others. Think about it. No matter what you are going through, how stressed you are, or the crazy deadlines you have to meet, magic has the power to help you forget those worries in those few minutes of the trick and performance. I know, many of you, when you think of card tricks, you probably would either think of an incredible Got Talent act, or you would think about your average Uncle Joe performing a couple of tricks at the family barbecue. But after watching more varieties of tricks personally online, I realized that there's not just two types of tricks, but there are so many different things you can do with one simple card trick, and so many different life lessons that you could teach. Magic has the power to make a difference in someone's mind and their opinions for the future. When I watch a trick with my family, or maybe even perform one myself, I see the giggles, laughter from everyone. Whether it was because my trick was really bad and that they weren't fooled, or that they were amazed, I don't know. But what I do know is that this art creates happiness in everyone, no matter what age they may be. Or in other words, even if the audience is not amazed by someone's trick, it is still a distraction for their mind from the other problems that they may have in life. Every adult's inner child will never go away because they're constantly wowed by magic. You see, I have figured out that this 3-letter word, wow, actually stands for something to us magicians. It stands for work on wondering. I know, you may be confused right now. What does that mean? Work on wondering. Well, it's as plain as that. As magicians, we truly want to encourage every individual we meet to wonder. So, I encourage all of you listening, as well as anyone else, to wonder. Wonder how we did the magic. Wonder how the people listening could do the same trick as us. And wonder how anyone could improve their imagination and keep their inner child alive. Now, I want to ask a question to all of you out there, magician or not. Have you ever wondered how magicians do their tricks? Obviously, there is no such thing as real magic. I hope we all have understood this by now, right? However, there are explanations to every single miracle trick we perform. I must add right now that everyone can watch magic. There are so many platforms to enjoy or even learn by yourself. YouTube, Google, and just the internet are just some of the incredible platforms where you can learn not just magic, but anything for free. Think about it. In the past, to learn a new trick or figure out a technique, you would need to do it yourself or invent it through your experiences and knowledge. However, in this new modernized world, we have incredible magical resources that can allow us to improve with the right effort, dedication, and the work we put in. Take my experience for instance. I am not a professional magician, nor am I the best at it. This is merely a passion and hobby that I have developed over the past year and have continued to put dedication in. I started off just hoping to learn a cool visual magic trick on YouTube. Daily, I learned some new things, and although they were not that impressive and did not fool many people, they still looked cool to me, which encouraged me to pursue the art and pursue learning new things. Over time, I spent over 6 hours a day practicing techniques and the art of sleight of hand. In these 6 hours and many hours of the day, I learned new tricks, new techniques, new sleights, and even if I had no time to learn something brand new, in my free time, and I always spent these free time just holding a deck of cards and fidgeting to improve the existing techniques that I have and to enjoy the art that I've just learned. And at one point, I could perform advanced moves that I have never thought that I would be able to do before. My journey over the past year has had its ups and downs. I remember moves where I spent hours, but I just did not understand. For these moves, I usually moved on and came back maybe a few weeks or days later. This is an important life lesson that I have learned from doing magic. When we can't figure out something in life and are really struggling with it and have put the maximum effort, we need to move on and come back with a fresh new perspective. And that's the attitude that I took when doing card magic. To be honest, there were those moments when I did not want to continue and thought that it was a joke for me to even try this new art form, because I knew in the inside that magic was never going to be my main thing in life, but rather was a small hobby. Let me give you an example that I still remember to this day. There was this move called the card spring, where the main goal was to shoot cards from one hand to another in a large distance. I remember seeing many B-rolls and many footages of large and big cardists who are professionals just showing off with their large and controlled card springs, and it made them look so professional and so talented. At that time, that's only what I wanted to learn, and I had to do it. It just looked way too epic, and based on the video tutorials I had watched, the technique itself was simple. All I thought at that time was grabbing the cards, pushing down and inwards, and letting go. It was as simple as that. Only when I tried did I realize that my hands were not used to bending in that direction and that I needed to build up my finger strength to do it. It frustrated me so much. I would see the people online do it slowly, so effortlessly, and so controlled, as if they had brains in their arms. And then there was me, unable to control the cards, meaning the cards were spraying everywhere. To add on top of the pain I was already facing, I had to bend down and pick up all the cards afterwards. I just want to quickly let all of you know that I was astonished to find out that it turns out magic was first performed in 2700 BC. At first, I expected magic and sleight of hand to be something a bit more modern, but turns out magic has been performed for centuries and decades. It is an ancient art that we all need to acknowledge and enjoy. Coming back to magic in general though, learning card magic allowed me to understand the power of this art without even having a real wand. Even though I never had any magical abilities or superpowers and probably will never will, the power of sleight of hand allowed me to create happiness and amazement in the people watching me perform. This happiness was just as equal to real magic to me as it created pride and joy in myself. December 17th, 1903, a time that we think about when we think about planes. A time when planes were just getting fully invented. Years before this, flying would have been what people would call impossible or magic. However, today, what they used to call magic is something common. People all over the world are flying today. Well, maybe not today. We may not be flying as much during Corona times, but in this new modern world, people fly all the time to go to countries, for business, or just to visit families around the world. 1876, the year the first telephone was invented. Another invention that was thought to be magic, something impossible, communicating from large distances in an instant. However, this was accomplished by the intelligence and impossible power inside of us. I know what I'm saying right now may sound irrelevant to what we are currently talking about, magic. But we need to understand that what was then considered magic and seemingly not realistic is now normal because of what technology and the magical power we have inside ourselves has created. All of you listening to this podcast right now need to understand that we have magic in ourselves that allow us to do impossible things and continue to grow. Over the time of understanding the history of magic and magic in general, I have understood one large thing. Magic is not when someone has impossible abilities, but rather the art of when you create happiness in others and make a difference to this world, no matter big or small. Every magician starts off as a regular human being, unaware of the powers they contain within. Even if magic is not your thing, you have your own magical gift that you have been given and that the world is waiting to experience. Maybe you're an incredible speaker or educator or just simply yourself. That inner magic must be shared with the world. Did you hear that? Your inner magic must be shared. In the beginning of the podcast, I told you to imagine a world with magic, a world where we all had special abilities and unique talents. However, we are already living in that world. All of us have special talents and abilities that need to be shared to this broad and wide world. If you found this podcast interesting, then make sure to always come back and listen to our new episodes to understand the impossible we contain within ourselves. Before all of you leave, I challenge all of you listening to this podcast today to unleash your magic and wow the world with your powers. Thank you for listening to the podcast where we discover the impossible in ourselves. This is your host, Uchi, signing off.